Hi everyone, Ann here, and today we're going to talk about my addiction story and how I've been clean for over 16 years. So if this is something that you're interested in, then keep on watching. Alright, so this is a story that I've been wanting to share with you guys for a very long time. So on my main channel, if you don't know, I do have a main channel, and on that channel I do a lot of subscription boxes, unboxings, mystery box. It's more beauty related. And early on in that channel, I used to do a lot of live streams. I used to go live every Thursday. And on the live streams, I would talk about depression, my addiction. I'm a recovering addict. And as I grew, I would get more into subscription boxes, and I just didn't find it, like a right time to make a dedicated video about addiction. So I wanted to make this channel for those of you that want to get to know about me, my personal life, my family, and I thought this is the perfect time to share my addiction story. It's kind of like before I put my children on and my family on, it's like when you meet somebody and you got to get to know them before they meet your kids, right? If you're a single mom. It's kind of like that. I want you guys to really get to know me before you meet my family, if that makes sense. So I think it's the perfect time to talk about it. I have to get some lip gloss. I always wear lip gloss every day. I don't know what it is. So when I don't have it on, I feel like my lips are so dry. This is going to be a longer video, so grab a drink and grab a snack and enjoy the ride. All right, so I grew up with a single mom. My father died when I was at the age of 6. He was 33 years old. And it's kind of complicated when people ask me, how did your father die? And I tell some people he died in a motorcycle accident, and some people I say he died of an overdose. And then some people I say he died from an aneurysm. And so let me explain the story, and all this will make sense further on. So my father, he died in 1982. And like I said, he was in a motorcycle accident. And with that accident, he was holding on to the handlebars because he built motorcycles from scratch. And he was so dedicated to his motorcycles that when he went under this fire truck, he kind of like held on for dear life to his handlebars. And to my understanding, his kneecap was almost coming off or something. I don't know, something to that effect with his name. So originally, he went to the hospital for a motorcycle accident. Well, I don't know how long, if it was that night, the next day, I have no idea, because like I said, I was only 6. He had a friend come in there and shoot him up in the leg with, I believe it was heroin, but I could be wrong with that. And I guess at that time, the doctors or nobody knew that he had a blood clot in his leg. So when he got that shot, the blood clot went all the way up to his lungs. It burst, he bled to death, and he died. They did do an autopsy, and I believe his death certificate does say aneurysm. That's why, if you guys know, with my daughter, what happened last year with the blood clots and her almost dying, why I was so scared, because of my father, So it all depends who I know. Was it the motorcycle accident is why he originally went to the hospital? If they didn't shoot him in his leg, would that blood clot still would have went up to his lungs and burst and died? I don't know. So it's kind of hard to explain. So like I said, it all depends who you are, how close I am for me to go into the depth. But I want you to keep that in mind. So he was definitely an addict. And like I said, my mother as well. Now, my mother died last Thanksgiving, which she wanted me to talk about this before, but I didn't want to because I knew my mother was on hospice, and I just didn't want to talk about it. And she was too sick to get on camera and talk about it now. So I'm not going to really talk about my mother too much, but I just want you to know, being raised that way and what I seen, it was always around me. Also, like my aunts, uncles, some of my cousins, addiction just runs in my family. So growing up without a father, this is very important for you to know. A lot of you women, and you guys would know, let me know in the comments down below, did you grow up without a father? Regardless if your father's still alive, if he just wasn't in your life. I can speak for myself and all of my friends that I spoke to that didn't have a father. We all miss that like fatherly love, right? So the first guy you go to that says they love you, it's like, oh, at least for me. But before I get into that, because of that, I rebelled a lot. And because of my mother, what I was seeing growing up, not having a father, I rebelled a lot, okay? And even going into high school, I would skip school. My mother would drive me to school. I would say bye to her and just go right into the school and like walk right out and skip school. I was getting in trouble. My mom signed me out of school at the age of 16 because I was never in school. I actually had the principal tell my mother, I see your daughter more than I see my own wife, you know? And so she signed me out. Now, I did get my GED, but I just want you to know, like, I was a very rebellious kid. And that, I do feel very bad for my mother, what I put her through. Also, I think this is very important for me to tell you, too, that being raised by my mother as well and issues that was going on, we were very poor. So I never went hungry. There was always food in the house. Cable TV was always on. The bills were being paid as far as I know. I don't remember like electric or anything getting cut off, but I didn't always have the nicest clothes. Like they weren't holy or dirty, but it was kind of like if back in the 80s, if there was a Walmart, I was kind of dressed in Walmart clothes, but even the Walmart has nicer clothes now. We're talking about before, you know, even the sneakers and stuff. And I also wore glasses, those big, big glasses. And years ago, if you were on Medicaid, you knew what Medicaid glasses were. Nowadays, if you're on Medicaid, there's nice glasses. People won't know if it's Medicaid glasses. So, you know what I mean? So dressing like that, having big glasses, I used to get made fun of a lot. So instead of not getting fun, I became the class clown and the temper and wanting to fight and everything like that, because then people didn't make fun of me, you know, because I became the funny girl. Now looking at it, these people probably thought I was an idiot and just laughing at me, not with me. But back then I thought, you know, to get off of how poor I am and getting made fun of, that's what I would do. And that's why I also rebelled. And that's why I also was so bad in high school, you know, cussing out the teacher because everybody was like, oh my God, look at Ann. I thought that was cool. I mean, I'm telling you how you think when you're younger, right? So not having a high school diploma, then I started hanging around the wrong crowd. I'll be the first to tell you. And these were pretty bad kids. Like, I was a type of child you did not want your kid to hang around, honestly, you know? And by the age of 17, all of my friends were in the gang. So I wasn't in a gang, but I was associated with the gang. So everybody was scared of my friends. They weren't scared of me, but they were scared of my friends and who I knew. So they didn't mess with me, if that made sense. And I thought that was just so cool. So having said that, who I hung around, you meet the wrong type of men. So I was 17, almost 18, when I met my first boyfriend. And he was all in love, so he said. And I was like one of those little kids like, oh, you know. And 4 months into the relationship, I get pregnant. So yes, I was a teen mom. I was 18 and pregnant. Now, he never put his hands on me, anything like that, until after I had my son. I think my son was about a month old the first time he ever put his hands on me. And I can remember this like it was yesterday. I was literally standing. Oh, by the way, I also moved in with him. I was standing on the top of the steps, and I remember he came upstairs, running up the steps as fast as he could, and clotheslined me. So he had me like this where I fell back. Now, that was the first time a guy ever put their hand on me because, like I said, I grew up without a father. And I was so devastated, you know, but he was very jealous and people were telling him I was talking to guys. And I thought, oh, well, he must love me. He has to love me if he's putting his hands on me and he cares that much, because he would say he was sorry. And it didn't happen all the time, but it happened, you know, like it would go like once every few months to once a month to once a week, you know, stuff like that. And I didn't want to tell my mother. Now, I will say this. My mother and my grandmother lived together. So I didn't want to tell my mother because I was 18, pregnant, living with a guy, not living a very good life. I had this pride thing because I didn't want to say, Mommy, you were right. Right? So I never said anything. Until my son was 3 years old. That was the first time he ever put his hands on my child. And my son's birthday is November 7th. He was turning 3. So I waited to after his birthday, because remember back then in the 80s, and now my son was born in 95, even in the early 90s, you had the birthday parties at McDonald's, right? Or Burger King, and we were having it at McDonald's. So I didn't want to mess that up because he was looking forward to it. So that weekend though, after his birthday, when he went to work, I moved, okay? So I left him alone completely. So now I'm feeling really sorry for myself because I always wanted that family, that mother, father, and a child, because I never had that, you know? And so I was crushed. And so now, like I said, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I have to move back to with my mother and my grandmother. And I have a child that by myself, you know, I'm a single mom, you know? Well, let's fast forward to maybe not even 6 months later, I meet another guy. And I knew this guy from high school. And we go on a couple dates and things have happened. Well, I was only with him for a couple months. I get pregnant with my daughter. And everything was doing good. But when I got pregnant, my grandmother, I was 23 at that time, kicked me out of the house. And she was like, nope, 2 kids now, you can't stay here. So I was putting in applications to all of these subsidized housings, the projects. I was 5 months pregnant. I got accepted to one and I moved out and I moved into the projects. Her father, now like I said, I didn't have her yet. He moved in with me. And so I thought, oh, maybe now. You know, because he was very good to my son that I already had. And I thought, well, now I'm having another child. Maybe things will work out, right? Have her. And he liked to go out all the time, clubbing and dancing and doing things he wasn't supposed to do either. I'm still hanging around the wrong crowd. By this time, this is a very important thing. I was drinking, but I wasn't drinking a whole lot, like after I broke up with my son's father. It was like once in a while, but I did tend to start drinking. Then, of course, when I get pregnant with my daughter, I don't drink, right? Then I start having problems with her father because now I had a child. I wanted him to stay home more. And when he would have off from work, he would go clubbing, dancing. I hear he's messing with other girls. Girls are coming up to me telling me, you know. And so we break up. So now, 2 kids by 2 different men. None of them want anything to do with my kid, you know. I start drinking more, right? And I couldn't drink liquor because if I drank liquor, I was nasty and I wanted to fight and I would be in jail. You know, I was one of those ones, if I was at the bar and I was drinking and I seen some girl look at me, I would say like, what the fuck are you looking at? And pick a fight. Right? And so, or I would say things to my friends and we would argue and I wouldn't remember. And the next day I'm waking up all happy and I'm like, what's wrong with you? So I knew I had to leave liquor alone. So I just stuck to beer, Coors Light. I would drink a 30-pack by myself. The only thing that would stop me if I ran out of beer or I passed out because I wanted to drink and drink until I passed out. So I had a problem with alcohol. I definitely did. And I was really drinking every day then after he left. Well, my daughter, we were broke up for about 5 months. My daughter was 11 months. No, I'm lying. My daughter was 18 months old when this happened. I get a knock on the door and her father, it was her father and he wanted to see her. It was about 9 o'clock. I was just getting ready to lay my daughter down, Lexi. And I was like, yeah, okay. I open the door and I walk in front of him. All of a sudden, I feel this something on my head. And I had real long hair, right? And so I go like this, and I look at my hand, and I see blood. I turn around, and he just went at me. I mean, when I tell you he beat the shit out of me, I had to get 13 staples in the back of my head. What happened was he hit me with one of those 40-ounce bottles. Got me out. I mean, I had no way to protect myself. It was just a done deal then. And the only thing that I think saved my life is somebody knocked on my door. Then he ran out the other door. When I tell you it was bad, now I'm diabetic. I was diabetic since the age of 18, so I already bleed like water, right? I was wrapping my hair up with towels and just blood. I didn't realize how bad I was. I called my mom, and my mom comes all the way over there, and the look on her face. So we call the ambulance. The ambulance comes, and I could see the look on their face. They're the ones who called the cops. And they told me if I would have went to sleep, I might not have woke up because I was losing so much blood. And I remember I was so tired and I just wanted to sleep. And my mother kept saying, Ann, you got to stay up. It's because of your kids, for your kids, for your kids. And I kept thinking, my kids, my kids, my kids. And that made me stay up. Thank God I didn't have any missing teeth, but I was, black and blue, swollen. It was bad. All because somebody was telling him that I had guys coming in and out of my house, which was not the truth, you know? And we weren't even together, even if I did. So now I'm really feeling bad, okay? I am definitely never going to talk to him again, right? 2 kids, single mom. I'm dealing with this, the embarrassment, because you're living in the projects. Everybody knows your business, right? I really started drinking. So one day, this girl that lived out there that I knew pretty good, I knew she would get high once in a while. But she was one of those ones, she got high, but always went to work. She was never like a really bad, like a junkie, right? But she would still get high. And we would drink together once in a while, but then she would go home and do her thing because I didn't do that stuff. And so one day she comes over and she had a piece, and it rhymes with back, okay? And she says, hey, do you want to do this? And I thought, the first time I told her, I was like, no, I don't do that stuff, you know? And I did. And she goes, okay. And that was that. She goes, I'm sorry I asked. And so that was fine. So then maybe about a week later, she comes over. I actually invited her over, and I'm like, come on, let's drink and stuff. And again, well, no, I'm lying. I says to her, hey, do you have any of that stuff? And she's like, yeah, why? I was like, I want to try it, because I sat there and I thought like, what is it? My father did it. My mother did it. The 2 guys I was with sold it, and I would see people like how they acted when they were on it. What is it? So I wanted to try it. I remember that first hit that I ever took. My body got all warm and fuzzy, and it felt so good. I was just like calm. And I didn't feel any of the pain that I was going through. Anything I was dealing with my mother, having 2 kids by 2 different men and them not doing anything about it, dealing with the abuse, you know, the embarrassment. It just felt good to me. And so I remember that night, it was like a nonstop. And when you live out in the projects, you can always find drugs. I'll tell you that. That's the truth. And so I remember all night long. So where she was like, all right, I got to go home and go to bed. I'm like, no, you got to stay. We got to keep going, because I was a fresh, like, you know, baby doing it. You know what I mean? And so anyway, she goes home. And I remember the next day, I felt so bad. So bad. But you think that stopped me? No. See, I was the type that I didn't just go and do it. I had to wait till I had a few beers and felt good. And then, because that was my choice of drug. Then when I would feel like a little tipsy, you know, I wanted more of a high. And then I would do it. And at that time, I would only do it maybe like once a month, you know. And by the way, my son would go to my mother's house because, like I said, my grandma lived there. And my daughter just went to bed early, you know. So I would do it. And I'll be the first to tell you, while she was home sleeping, you know. I didn't care, because I just focused on I wanted to get high. And then I would probably stop about 4 or 5 in the morning, because I knew my daughter was waking up. I never did it when she was up or anything like that. But it got to where it was like once a month, to on the weekends, to wanting to do it maybe like on a Monday. You know, it was starting to get bad. Well, I worked as this time too. Like I would do it like after work. Well, so we're going now maybe 3 years goes down the line. And this guy that I worked with, we were really good friends. I've known him for 2 years. And I remember he was coming to the city I was in. I was like, oh, come over. And we were drinking. And one thing comes to another, and I get pregnant with my youngest son now. He's 16. And I remember like maybe 3-4 weeks later, I felt funny, and I took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive, and I couldn't believe it. And I go and I tell him, and of course, He didn't think it was true. He thought I was lying because it was only a one-night stand. I'll be the first to tell you, right? And I remember he quit his job. And I thought, well, that's weird. Come to find out, because he was living with a girl, he had lied to me. And I'll just go to tell you, I didn't hear from him again until my son was 9 years old, when he wanted a DNA test. And of course that came back positive. But that whole time, my pregnancy, everything. So when I found out though, when I took that pregnancy test, I still got high until I was about 2 months pregnant, when I got my first ultrasound. And when I seen that, I thought, no, I can't. And I did. I stopped cold turkey. Nope, I wasn't going to do that, because I knew how I was raised. And I was like, I don't want to be that type of person. I don't want, even though I did with my daughter, I'm being a hypocrite. But I was like, I can't do it when I'm pregnant. That's definitely a no-no. So after he's born, my son was 3 weeks old, and I had that urge again, because all these months I didn't get high, right? And I'm like, proud of myself. This is in my head. This is how the devil works, right? It's okay. You can have one hit. You'll be fine. That's all that you'll need. So I remember my son was downstairs in his cart seat carrier, and my friend comes over, the girl that I told you about, and I was drinking, and we get high. And I got fucked up, like, really easy, because it was been so long since I got high, right? And I remember my youngest son, he was crying and crying and crying. And I was aggravated because he was fucking up my high. I was so angry. Not that I did anything to him, but I would tell her, I would say, go down and handle him, get him to stop crying. And she was the one saying, Ann, he's crying, let's worry about the baby. But I was so angry he was messing up my high. So the next day, of course, that's when I thought, what the hell's wrong with me? I felt so guilty, and I said to myself, you are becoming into your parents that you didn't like, that you didn't want to go through. Look what you're doing. That it was this bad that you would do this in front of a 3-week-old and didn't care, and was mad at the fact he was fucking up your high because he was crying, right? So that's when I went cold turkey, and I never touched it again, because I was so disgusted in myself. Now, that didn't stop me drinking, but that stopped me with the hard drugs, and I never touched it again. The guilt that I had. And as far as the drinking, that was only a little bit, and eventually that. Because I noticed when I would drink, when I would have about the third or fourth a beer, my mind, that devil comes in, just have a little hit, get a little bit higher. You only need one hit. So I knew I couldn't drink no more. So then I knew I can't drink, right? Because I'll tell you what, that devil will come in. He knows when to come in. And so it's been 16 years since I ever touched a drug. And probably, let's see, when I met my husband, my son was 6. Our first date, I drank a little bit because I was so nervous. But I think that was probably my last time. I haven't touched a beer, drank anything. Now, do I still get these urges? Absolutely. When I'm going through things, do I get these urges? Absolutely. More for the drinking, but also that other stuff, right? And I say to myself, you can't, because I know my consequences. Because after 3 beers, first of all, when I drink, I can't stop. And anyway, after 3 beers, I want to do other things, right? So I have to keep saying to myself, and these are the consequences that can happen. And when you backslide, it gets worse, right? So I was scared to backslide. But what I want to tell you guys, if you are having an issue now, especially with COVID and everything that's going on, right? Because when you have an addiction problem, it makes it worse, especially what we're going through now. And I've had some people tell me, that they do it and they backslide and they feel bad and they keep doing it. I don't care if you backslide every week. You brush yourself off and you try again. If you only can stay clean for one day, that's one day you stay clean and you try again. You fuck up, you try it again. And one day you will. As long you have to put your mind to it. See, us, if we have family members that are addicts, right? We can make them go to a rehab. We can make them do things, but not until they're ready It doesn't matter how many times they go to a rehab. It doesn't matter what you do. You put them on the street. They are not going to get clean until they are ready. And that's just the truth. Just like with me. I finally said, look what I did with my son who was 3 weeks old. I didn't want to do this anymore. So that's when I stopped. I knew I had to, right? So like I said, if you do have a problem, keep trying. Just keep trying and don't feel sorry for yourself, you know? And if you need to talk to me, I will leave my email down below. Email me. Sometimes it takes me a few days, you know, because I do get a lot of emails, right? But I will get back to you, you know, and if I don't, sometimes I get so many emails that if you email me a couple days ago, I get so many, I don't see it, right? And I don't go far and back. So then you email me again and I will talk to you, you know? Nobody's perfect, not even me. You know, some people look at me now with makeup and everything on and think that I have this perfect life, but I don't. And I think sometimes a lot of YouTubers or people or people that are public figures, they don't want to talk about it, right? And I think more people need to talk about it. And I think the more people that talk about it, they can relate. I'm really happy that I shared my story a little bit. I mean, I didn't get all full into like detail, but I wanted to share my story that I'm not perfect. I am just somebody that's sitting behind the camera, you know? And I got clean. So if I can get clean, you can get clean. You can. But you have to do it when you are ready, when you want to. And just like I'm saying, if you have family members, they will not get clean until they are ready. Because most of us that are addicts think we don't have a problem, think that we can handle it. That's the problem. And it's not that we don't love you or that we don't care. It's not like I didn't love my son or my children. It was my mind, the devil. I wanted the alcohol, the drugs. That's what I wanted. I didn't care about anything else until I got it. That withdrawal. I needed to have it, you know? But yeah, I have been 16 years. My son had turned 16 July 19th, and I'm very proud of myself. Now, I'm not saying, I always say I'm a recovering ing. I'm not recovered because I don't believe anybody's ever fully recovered, because if it was right there in front of me, I can't tell you I wouldn't do it. What I had to do was get the people out of my life. You know how they say people, places, and things? That's what you have to do. And that's what I did. But anyway, I know this video is getting long already. Let me know your story. Are you a recovering addict? And if you are, how did you get clean? I'd really like to know. This is something that's really important to me, and I really care about this type of stuff. And I think more people need to talk about it even more. That is my story. I am not perfect. I am a sinner. I am flesh. Nobody's perfect. So don't feel bad if you're going through similar situations. All right, I'm going to end this here because I'm getting emotional. Thank you for letting me share my story. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching my other videos. We met the requirements to get monetized. I'm not monetized yet. YouTube is reviewing it, but thank you so, so much. And if you know anybody that's going through this, share this story. Maybe it'll give them some hope that you can get clean and you can stay clean. All right, guys, please like this video because it really does help me out. If you like these type of videos, and if you want to get to know me a little bit more and also meet my family, then please subscribe and make sure you have that post notification bell on. Make sure that you double tap it. That way it's on all and you get notified for all of my future videos. And that's everything, guys. Stay blessed, stay healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. My God, I was all over the place. Jesus.